Coastal people in Africa are leading the way on managing their marine environments, and it's catching on. These community conservation areas, generally called locally managed marine areas, have taken off in Africa. Fishing communities are putting in place mechanisms to manage the fish, corals, octopus and shells, and to be in charge of an area they can call theirs. This locally managed marine area movement is bringing hope to fishing communities who talk of dwindling fish populations and degraded habitats, especially coral reefs. This is caused by destructive fishing methods, pollution, and coral mortality from climate change.
Zamani iko samaki wengi sana. Tuna au dorado tulikuwa tunashika wengi. Lakini sasa kidogo iko pungufu.
Djibouti badino laakiin badda sidan dhulkan oo kale maaha laakiin way ka runtahay laakiin wuxuu ma ka sii dhacay sanadkiiba laakiin sidii loo difaaci lahaa fikirkan nacab loogu dhaqaajin lahaa ayaan u nimid inaan barano.
Fishers in Africa believe that a locally managed marine area can improve their fish stocks and so improve the fisheries that they are dependent on.
The benefits are, first, the coral improve. The number of fish increases because corals act as the breeding areas for the fish.
Locally managed marine areas, or LMMAs, all involve an area of sea and coast that a community sets aside and with the help of government legally designates it as their own. Coastal communities take the lead on managing these areas, but in partnership. This is the co-management approach. Fisher groups decide which zones they should fully protect from fishing, what fishing gears to ban or modify, and what species of fish to fish and which to fully protect. They also make decisions on how to earn revenue from their LMMA, for example through tourism, and how to use that income both for the LMMA and for the community. Kenya is leading the way. From one coral reef community conservation area in 2006 to 19 in 2016. Kuruwitu led this movement, and they in turn were inspired by a visit to LMMAs in Tanzania.
We are the pioneers. This is one of the benefits because of we are in the group of conserving to make the environment healthy.
Cordio East Africa, a marine research and conservation organization, has been strongly involved in providing training and support to LMMAs in Kenya, and is now working in Djibouti and Mozambique to do the same.
We have found that LMMAs in Kenya go through 5 phases to become fully established and operational. These phases are not onerous, but they do take time. I think one of the most significant features of these phases is the conceptualization phase. And this is a situation where the LMMA idea is talked about, it is discussed in detail with the community, the fishermen, and a lot of training is carried out for them to be able to understand how to manage an LMMA, and also just awareness, general awareness on concerning the marine environment.
One significant trigger for community members is to visit a well-established LMMA, to see it for themselves. This enables them to talk directly with the fishermen and women who are managing that area, to hear their stories on their LMMA, why they set it up, how did it go, and importantly, why it has brought them benefits. In the Republic of Djibouti, LMMAs are being introduced for the first time.
waxaan meeshan u imanaysaa oo aragno kusaa u eegno community-ga xagan ku nool Kenyaaniinta iyo kuwii reer Djibouti si ay ula dhaqmaan amba si u protegeeyaan aan u ilaaliyaan khayraadka badda iyo plashka waxa soo dhanbay
badda inay waxba ka dhicino ay wax ku biiraan baan doonaynaa kolka imkaan waxaan la jijibinay oo hagaajinayna ma jirto saan meeshan ku maqalay waxyaabo badan ba yaad xumaado dhibaatooday oo dib loo hagaajinay anaga xaq badaydu wali way bad qabtaa laakiin waxaan doonaynaa waa inaan wax ka hortagno wixii dhibaato badda soo food saaraya ee dhibaato u keeni doona.
Knowledge of the marine ecology and biology around LMMAs help fishing communities understand how they work. Most marine species produce pelagic larvae that drift with the currents. This means that a protected zone on one reef can have positive effects on a neighboring reef down current. It also shows how important it is to leave some adult fish to live long and spawn, and so seed their own reef and neighboring reefs. This is all related to how many eggs they produce, called their fecundity, and this is very important for managing fisheries. Different species produce different numbers of eggs. For example, sharks produce very few young, and this means that they are very vulnerable to overfishing. Whereas sardines produce millions of eggs, so they can be fished in large quantities. Older, larger marine fish produce many more eggs, and therefore it's important not to fish them so they can keep reproducing. It's also important to let juveniles grow into adults so they have a chance to spawn before they are fished.
Elimu, tumeongeza elimu, maana sisi tayari ile elimu tuko nayo kwa sababu ya kutambulikana, tumezidi kuelewa zaidi mambo ya marine zaidi.
It is very important to manage the expectations of local communities carefully and to discuss how these conservation areas take time to work. And that depends on what state they were in when it started. It can take a few years if you want the fish populations to improve.
Ilikuwa ngumu kuanzisha hii LMMA kwa sababu hili wazo lilipotujia ni wazo geni. Kwa hivyo hata kuelezana kulikuwa pia kuna kama changamoto na pia jinsi ya kuanzisha. Kwa hivyo ilikuwa ngumu, lakini tulipatana.
Sasa wanafurahi. Japo mwanzo walikuwa wanafikiria kwamba ni mradi ambao labda unachukua muda mfupi kuleta mapato. Kumbe ulikuwa si mradi wa kuleta mapato kwa haraka, ni mradi ambao ulikuwa unachukua muda mrefu ndio ulete mapato.
Giving fishers good training in fisheries management and how to manage their LMMA is vital. This must include enforcement patrols and monitoring. Long-term, locally sustainable financing solutions are key to their success.
Mzuri. Sababu itafanya kile kizazi kinakuja. Sisi tukijitahidi kile kizazi kitaona rasilimali bado iko.
I hope to organize ourselves to keep the sea for good health. Also we can feed us or for our future generation.
The future looks bright for these fishing communities empowered by their locally managed marine area. With fish populations recovering, coral cover improving, community members engaged in conservation and management dialogue, and revenue from tourism flowing. This model for community-based marine conservation areas in Africa is catching on and has the potential to create a vast network of LMMAs which could turn the tide for coastal fishers and coral reefs in Africa.